How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Today is a very interesting day because we're still tiptoeing past yesterday. They have not changed any information from what I've seen so far. They are still on the cusp of 267. He has the majority electoral votes. He has the majority um, popular vote, ideally. So eventually, when they wrap this thing up, the red team got it in the bag. And he said, after this year, you ain't going to have to vote again. We'll see. We'll see. But today, since we are officially a red country, uh, we are going to be sitting here talking about opening up uh, offshore bank accounts abroad as U.S. citizens. Can we do it? What do we got to do for it? How do we work our way around that? How does it benefit us? Well, I've been talking to you guys for the longest period of time about how the way things have been going in this country, that if you are not a walking business, that the laws that are being enforced and benefiting you. So I to continue to encourage you guys, go ahead and set yourself up some business. It doesn't matter if it's offshore business. It doesn't matter if it is um how do you put that? Foreign domestic business, whatever you got to do. Actually, one thing that I'm actually curious about, and I'm going to do some research on it before I talk to you guys about it on the show, because I got a couple guys from Taiwan that's been talking to me about this for a while, and they've been telling me that they might not be allowed to establish a business in the United States as a foreign national. Well, you know, when people tell me certain I can't, first thing I'm going to tell you is the only thing that's stopping you from is the fact that you have not applied yourself to do it. So, since they're telling me, I can't establish business in the U.S. because I'm not a U.S. citizen, that's not exactly true. You can establish something somewhere, some kind of way. There are just some stipulations that might be involved. The same way you can establish a business in China, Japan, Taiwan, Tibet, the Philippines. It is just that you cannot own native land as a foreigner or a foreign business as long as the native land is not owned 60% by a native in those countries. Now, in the United States is a lot like Japan. If you got enough money to pay for it, you can have it. There's some laws and rules around how you set that stuff up. But, I mean, if you're willing to pay the cost, go ahead, own you some land, because it'll only be yours until you die. Then the country takes it back. That's how it is everywhere. That's just how it is everywhere. Um, but think about it. We're going to be doing some research about that, and we're probably going to be talking. I might even talk about it next week. Like, can you start up a business in America as a foreign national? You can. You have online businesses. You have in-person businesses. Those in-person businesses requires you to rent property, even if you can't own land. I can't say that you're not allowed to own land as a foreign national. You just, if there are restrictions there, you just have to go through the necessary steps. So if you rent or do a long-term lease, because they have 10 and 25-year lease options out there, you just have to talk to the property owner. As long as you're paying for possession of premises, doesn't matter if the deed is in your name or not, because it's the cost of doing business when you're thinking about 20 or 30 years worth of getting the job done. Either way, you can, just like you can start up a business in America as a foreign. Now, I was sitting over here wondering why TikTok didn't come to America and just build a business. They could have just rented out 4 walls out of an office space somewhere and established business license, and then set up um, it could have been like a data center kind of whatever, and sent some of their people over to America to run the U.S. branch and just put TikTok inside of. But I mean, whatever law or rule that they are not following from China, that is alleged the reason why they're being banned from the U.S. They would just have to change their algorithm to reflect that. Yeah, or just be banned out of the country and they can do whatever they want because their country's their country. Yeah, it's whatever. But when it comes down to us. Now, look, yesterday we had like 384 butts in the store. However, I'm going to try my best to do less butts today. Men never say that. But we're going to go ahead and try to, look, there we go again with more butts. I have found that I have used that as a habit. Either way, I want you guys to join me in the challenge of us opening bank accounts abroad outside of the US as US citizens. And we're going to see what we can do to pull this stuff off. So, what I'm going to be trying to do is kind of give you an overview of some step-by-step processes to open bank accounts as US citizens in other countries and the benefits and how they're going to aid you. And I'm going to have to probably do a follow-up video because, country by country, some of this stuff is different. And there may be some rules and regulations, which is why you should always check base with your local embassy about what you can and cannot do in that country. And then also do some research on the local laws before you fly out there, because whatever you decide to do, I always say that you should first do what you know is right, stand up for what you believe in, and then defend that by any means necessary. So if you know that you are well within your legal rights to perform these actions and behaviors, then go ahead and do you. But if you understand that what you're doing could have negative legal consequences, then I strongly urge you not to do that. In line with the YouTube guidelines, I am required to tell you, do not do anything unethical or unlawful. Laws and rules and regulations of every country that you are affiliating with at the time of the action being taken. So now that I have gone past that disclaimer, let's tee off into some juicy tidbits. Many of us US citizens face these challenges where we're trying to manage our finances while living or traveling abroad, and often have the feeling of limitations by traditional banking options. And these limitations can lead to frustrations and anxiety, especially when trying to access your money in a foreign country. It is not uncommon for US banks to have limited international services. You are also going to experience some banks that have additional fees for international services. These things are making it difficult to manage your finances abroad. Additionally, many banks that are charging high fees for international transactions will quickly add up, causing you to furthermore have those countries with strict banking regulations make it even harder for US citizens to deal with local banking. So what are we supposed to do about this? We depending on the bank, there isn't a branch in that country. Depending on the bank, they're charging high fees to do business in that country. And depending on the bank, those cards aren't even accepted in that country. So then what do? You also have some of the issues that one of the criteria of opening banks in some countries is that you must be a resident of that country. You must be a local, if not a native, at least a local. So how do we handle this? As a result, many US citizens living abroad feel disconnected from their money. And it's not hard to see why it is a real challenge trying to navigate the complexities of international banking, especially when you're not familiar with the local systems. Managing your finances from abroad can be overwhelming in more than one scenario, because just like we spent 45 minutes dealing with our internet problem today, barely getting ourselves up here with 3 out of 5 towers down in a 300 square foot area, and some reason internet is the largest majority of the package, and the internet is what's not working. It is terrible that we're experiencing what we're experiencing, but I got to give them a call after the fact, and they're probably going to credit my phone bill the cost of the internet, but doesn't help me with the fact that it's making streaming a little bit difficult. So I know you guys are going to be telling me, well, you're glitching out. Your camera's bad. I know. I can see myself while I'm talking to you. I know, but I've got to do it again with these butts. So let's tee off. While we're going to be sitting here discussing these types of accounts available, the requirements for opening one and the potential advantages of having another overseas is going to be subjective to the country that you're going to. So you really want to look into what can you do in certain countries. So one of the most significant benefits of having overseas bank account is the ability to manage your finances in multiple currencies. This means that you can have money in one currency in the US and money in another currency in another country. And then because your money is already in that currency, you don't have to deal with the currency exchange rates when you decide to go to that country with US dollars and convert it to their native currency. You also have the benefit if your money's already in that country, you don't have to worry about being robbed by ATF and the CIA and the FBI when they misrepresent your money as unlawfully possessed because you withdrew it from a bank account to take a trip overseas and they just felt like it would be a good idea to line their pockets. So before you get robbed by feds, where they're not, they have no legal justification to take your money, but they're stealing your money from you anyway. Before that happens, if you're only leaving with a cashier's check and potentially wire transferring money over to another country where the money is already in your bank account, you don't have to worry about being robbed. But at the same time, even if you're not being robbed by the feds, because the US government will rob people, even if you're not being robbed by local law enforcement, because local law enforcement has a habit of robbing people, even if that's not the case, the fact is that you could be knocked off by somebody in the airport, before the airport, or after the airport. We're in between the bank account that you took the money out of in the US and the bank account that you're putting the money in whatever country that you're going to. So it's always important for you to have an alternative way to get your money to a safe location without having to have the physical capital in the trunk of your car. God forbid something happens to the car and now your money is either scattered all over the streets or in a burning flame of glory like Paul Walker. Either way it goes, you don't want anything to happen to your capital. So what you want to do is you want to find other ways to establish better, safe banking in other countries. And over the months, I'm going to be doing different shows about different countries and different banking systems and different business setups that can occur in certain countries and certain different financial markets in other countries, so that we can really start talking about doing some real international business. Since I talked to you guys about the IMF yesterday while we were dealing with the election, and as you can see, they have not resolved it. He's still 3 points away. So for some reason, they decided to take the day off and not finish counting the ballot. It shouldn't take that long to count 100,000 people. If you counted 355, you counted 300 million people. Now, I don't understand why the last 100 million is hard to count. You should just go ahead and get it over with. Drink you some coffee, take you a Red Bull, get in there and get it done. Shoot you a 5-hour energy drink, put some coconut butter on your fingertips, and get in there and finish counting those ballots so that we can go ahead and start fussing and arguing about your decision, because at least 47% of the population is going to be unsatisfied, if not 51% of the population, if the situation shifts in the next 48 hours. So regardless of how we look at it, we just have to understand that, yeah, things don't always go the way you want. So another advantage is you'll have easier access to your money, and no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to transfer your funds, pay bills, and access your online accounts, all from the comfort of your own home or hotel room, wherever you're staying at. Got to remember that. Additionally, having overseas bank accounts can provide an added layer of financial security and privacy, where you'll be able to keep your finances separate from your US accounts, which can be beneficial for those of you who value your financial privacy. Now, what does that mean? Well, in the United States, when your money starts gaining more than 10% interest in the account, U.S. banks have an obligation to tell the U.S. government how much money is in your account and how much money you are making. Offshore accounts don't have that obligation to tell the U.S. government what's going on with your money. Matter of fact, they also don't have an obligation to tell the U.S. government that you even have any money in their country. So if you did not want your money to be on the books, one of the best ways to establish that is to have offshore banking. Another thing that I've said before that is always very, very good is if you have the ability to funnel transactions under $9,000 out of one bank account into another bank account, even if that bank account is offshore. That offshore bank account would hold the full magnitude of the capital that the US government is not reporting to one another, which means that, remember when I told you about 1,000 bank accounts with over $200 in each one of them, where each one of them was gaining 10% interest or $10 of interest per month, regardless of how it negatively, regardless of how the interest would affect your thing. They're not reporting it because it's less than $10. And since they're not reporting it, if you made $50,000 of profit, that is, nobody really cares that you got because it's spread across 1,000 bank accounts, and then you just wired that offshore at about $8,500 per transaction. You could shuffle your stuff over to another account in about 5 or 6 transfers, and nobody know the wiser, because nobody's talking about any interest earned. Nobody's talking about. You can earn capital that nobody's paying attention to. And if you're one of those people that are a need to know basis when you're talking to your CPA, then make it do what it do. But you are only liable for anything that can be proven. So if it can't be proven, I'm not saying this is going to get you around some stuff. All I'm saying is that if your information isn't on record, no one has a record of the information. And it only exists if it's on record. You've only done it before if there's a record of you doing it before. So if you've never done it before, ideally, there's no record that you've done it before. And one of the funniest things about truth is the absence of proof is proof in and of itself. The absence of evidence. So in situations where they accuse you of not doing something, the absence did it proves that you didn't do it. The burden of proof to prove that something was done, when there's a paper trail of stuff that is getting done and the paper trail vanishes and there's no paper trail of stuff getting done, that's when you're in a position where there's no proof that it's getting done anymore. And if there's no proof that it's getting done anymore, then the accusation is it's not getting done anymore. Prove to me that it is getting done, where they would have to bring the information that you don't have access to. Now, all of this leads to the understanding that if it doesn't exist, there's nothing to have proof of, which means there's nothing to bring to the table, which means there's nothing to show anybody. Now, this can have a counter effect if you're trying to show proof that you have wealth for whatever reason. I don't know why you would be trying to do that, because you should be leveraging the stocks and bonds and stuff that you have in America, not leveraging offshore accounts. You should never leverage offshore accounts. I don't care what anybody says. You should never leverage. Nobody should know if you've got an account in another country, your will and testament, the last one, not even the first one, your last will and testament shouldn't even have that in there unless you want somebody to get some of it. So, additionally, having overseas bank accounts can have and provide that layer of security that I was just explaining to you about, and you'll be able to keep your finances separate from your US accounts, which is going to be beneficial for those of you who don't want nobody to know what's going on. And I wanted to say this to you one more time, because if you're opening an overseas bank account, you can also provide tax benefits depending on your individual circumstances, which CPA Joe, I think his name is Matriano, Joe Matriano, the CPA that was on the show a couple weeks ago. Joe is one of those CPAs who can actually tell you about the tax benefits of offshore banking. Because remember when I told you a few months ago about the starting up a business in Japan, and they don't tax you for $120,000 worth of earned income in Japan if you report that you have a business in Japan to the US government. They won't even tax you up to $120,000 on that business. Fact is that if you have accounts in another country that you are reporting to the United States government, you have tax blankets in your country where you don't have to pay certain quantities of taxes for that currency. So imagine you have all this money in the US that is triple taxed, quadruple taxed, and then you have the rest of this money over in another country. It's not being taxed by the US government at all. And you're spending it in the country that you're going to, so you're not paying for wire transfers every week. I'm not saying open up an offshore bank account so that you can live your life in the US with an offshore bank account. If you're going to leave your money in an overseas bank account like Singapore or Switzerland or something like that, you put it over there and you don't mess with it. That's like investing in stocks and bonds, a 10 or 20-year plan where when you decide to retire, you're going to move to where your money is and you're just going to live off the money that's there and wire transfer any other money to that area so that that none of your money is being left behind and then like go off the grid kind of thing. But the key moment will highlight the specific steps you need to take successful steps towards opening an account. Now, including necessary documentation and tips for choosing the right bank. First, you'll need to research and choose a bank that meets your needs. So when you're looking for a bank that offers international services or has less fees or provides an easy online access to your accounts, you have to go and look at what those overseas banks are capable of. Then you have to be able to look at any fees that are involved with international transactions. Then you have to be able to determine the accessibility to that branch with being able to call customer service and have them aid you in your ability to be successful with that branch. Once you've chosen the bank that you're looking for, you'll need to gather the necessary documentation such as your passport, proof of address, and identification cards to help you with going over there and establishing a bank. Sometimes you can set up a bank online in another country, and there's over 8,000 banking institutions in the US that you can have online banking established where you don't actually have to travel to all of those branches in order to set up an account. You just need to take screenshots of your identification and take screenshots of any banking information that they may need, and then email it to them, hopefully over a secure line so that your identity isn't stolen, and establish a bank account with that particular bank. I strongly recommend that you go over there, walk into the bank, and set up the bank yourself. That way, you know that you're not being scammed online, and that you're actually giving your identity to a real bank, and you're actually going to wire transfer your money to that real bank account. I think that would be the best way to go. But for those people who can do everything on the phone and then call and then have the nice little conversation with the person that you trust, the person that you're talking to on the phone, to not be an elaborate scheme, hey, by all means, do it online. But you want to have online banking, even if you set up the bank in person, so that while you're overseas, you can watch your money. You want to be able to have access to online visualization of your account, even if you can't do anything other than see what the balance is on the account to make sure that your money is not being taken out. But if you're going to be a foreign domestic scenario, you want to make sure that you have proper usage criteria met by the overseas bank. Well, if they want you to make a certain quantity of purchases per month or pay a monthly service fee, you want to make sure that you have the money going into the account to cover the monthly service fee. If there isn't a monthly service fee, you want to be able to make sure that that's not the debit card or credit card that you're using in America when you're buying food in a McDonald's, because you didn't have any money in your American bank accounts. You also don't want to send more money to a different country and sit it in their bank when you don't have enough money to make it here in America. All of these steps, it's really being responsible, and it's supposed to be considered common sense. But unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, there's very few people that utilize common sense these days for us to be able to say that common sense is still common. I don't know. That's why for the last year I've been asking y'all to make it make sense, because it just hasn't been making sense for so long. Um, After that, you're going to have to fill out the application forms, and then you're going to usually find the bank's information on the website, and you will be able to submit that information for approval. Finally, you'll need to fund your account, and this can be done through the wire transfers that I've been talking about, or by depositing cash at a local branch if you're at the bank that you're trying to open up in the country that you're opening up. The main points that I wanted to have you guys understand is that your options in the US living abroad are far more vast and far more broad than what you would think. And opening a account in another country is probably a very, very smart and fiscally responsible move that most people forget to do. A lot of the wealthiest people in the United States have money somewhere else other than the United States, which would provide you with that additional financial security and privacy and flexibility that you would need to be able to better manage your money. In addition, you got a lot of countries that says that it is unethical for you to carry a sat phone. But there are no laws that says that you're not able to carry sat connections where you can utilize sat phones by modifying your primary phone to a sat phone for the specific sat calls. They have sat phone SIM cards. They have sat phone modifications for iPhone. They have little terminals where you put your cell phone on there and it connects you directly to a satellite where you can then talk to somebody in another country or talk to somebody in your own country. You just can't take the actual sat phone with the really long 1996 antenna on it and call yourself talking about I'm gonna make a phone call in front of a law official, because they're gonna use that as an excuse to make your day bad. But you can actually, they have Solarion, they have what was it, Cryptol. They have a bunch of phones out there that have sat phone capabilities. They look like normal cell phones, but they're actually satellite phones. You have iPhone that has the satellite phone modification that you can put on it. Actually, Samsung is starting to become to that magnitude where sat phone capabilities can be added there. SIM cards can be added to the phones to modify them to sat phone status, where you can make international phone calls over. It's not a secured line, but because a satellite is federally protected, they're going to need a federal warrant to wiretap your phone call instead of using a local civil or state warrant to tap your personal phone. Which, by the way, did you know that if you're a business, they've got to get a warrant to wiretap the business phones, which is not as easy to do. It's still doable. It's just not as easy to do, especially if you're not the only person claiming to be involved in the business. They would have to determine that the business is involved in criminal activity, not the employee, which means that if the business is alleged or suspect to be involved in criminal activity, they can wiretap the business phone lines. But if you personally are not the business, but have a business cell phone, it's not as easily accessible to wiretap a commercial cell phone line until they prove that you're the only person in the business and you're the one suspect. So they're gonna tap your line because it's a family plan kind of thing. Then they can start doing some dirt. But if you establish a pretty successful business, hire a few employees under you, you have a bunch of commercial phone lines for the business phone, they can't even confirm that the phone that they're wiretapping is even your phone, because you got multiple lines under the business name. And it's not likely they're going to wiretap an entire business that is not breaking the law so that they can try to find out if you are breaking the law. But just one of those things that you got to think about. If everything is registered to the business, you are not the business. If you're trying to have yourself a little bit more off the grid and a little bit more discreet, Get you a corporate phone, probably get you a corporate SAT system. If you're going to travel with it in your trunk, not in the back seat, in your trunk. Because in order for them to accuse you of being in possession of it, they got to see it. And if you're one of those people that's going to roll your windows all the way down and let them search your car visually so that they can find a reason to search your car physically, then you want to keep any incriminating evidence or potential incriminating evidence in the trunk of your car. Don't do like Hillary Clinton and keep the CIA server in your basement. You want to keep it away from your house. My mother always told me that if you're going to do something that you probably are recommended not to do, it is best not to do it near your house. You want to be far away from your house. And then after you do something stupid, you do not at any point in time want to go directly back to the house. You want to take the long way around. If you're going back to your house, you want to take the long way around and then make sure that nobody beat you to your house. Because typically, some of the places they catch people immediately after a crime is either at the scene of the crime because they returned because they forgot something, or at their house, or at some of their nearest friends or relatives where they're hiding. You want them to find you as quickly. You want to go places where nobody knows who you are, which means immediately leaving the area and going quickly to another location. Matter of fact, far be it from me to tell you, truth be told, if you can jump on a boat from the most recent situation, you're gone. It don't matter if you take the boat from one boat dock to another boat dock in another county and then get back on land and take a car and drive out. That once you've left land, you ain't really trying to. It's an international matter now. So I find that it's a very cool thing to do, to have the bank accounts that you can utilize to aid yourself in being successful. And I feel like it's something that a lot of us, and really truly, the one of the main reasons why a lot of us don't pay attention to these things is because we can't afford to do it. So had 52% of y'all voted for the person who didn't get picked, we would have got $1 million apiece, where we could be having offshore bank accounts. So we're not going to have offshore bank accounts. We might as well just get used to our Glock switches and our bump stocks and our suppressors and not have us to register anything with ATF, because we have the right to own it, possess it, and potentially even modify them. I can't wait for them to give us the authorization to wield full autos. Yeah, these young bucks are going to be acting a plum D ridiculousness fool, because we're going to be able to utilize full autos. But the fact is, instead of moderation, we have extremities. So we have to manage our extremities. But over time, because the new model that we're going to be dealing with, the new structure we're going to be dealing with right now, is going to be such a complex structure that it's going to take 5 or 10 years for it to really make its mark, and it's going to cost us tons of money, and it's not going to benefit the average American person. And since it's not going to benefit the average American person, you're going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs, regretting the fact that you made the choice that you made. But you made your choice. You made your bed. You lied. Some people are going to say, you're just hating. No. I was abstained. I had nothing to do with this. I cannot say that I contributed into the chaos that has just happened. I was in no way involved in the chaos that just happened. Remember that. But I did tell you so 5 months ago. So as it stands right now, let's start trying to build some big business. Let's start trying to get ourselves some foreign domestic accounts. Let's start trying to get ourselves. So the e-commerce thing is starting to get real big. And when you start thinking about e-commerce, you know that when you start drop shipping in other countries, you got to set up a shop in their country to broadcast your product in their country, which also means that you should probably set up a bank account in their country in order for you to collect revenue in their currency. And then when you think about it like that, if you have a online company that's selling a product, do you know you could be more successful creating a in-person store related to the online store where foreigners are getting American products in their country from you, directly from America. Just saying. That's a whole nother market there that used to be tapped, but the more things go online, the less people sell stuff in person. But if you have warehouses in China and Taiwan, and you have made in US products sent to China and Taiwan where they can't get the stuff in China or Taiwan, that's like it's like bringing Jordans into Payless and be like, bro, got these Jordans. They will pay quite a bit for US products in their country because it's a US product. US merchants in their country, they will pay for US merchants in their country. And if you're trying to set up an e-commerce store, this offshore banking might make sense. That incentive that I told you guys about Nagano, Japan, that was talking about, or was it Nagoya? I think it was Nagano, Japan, that was talking about if you set up a business over there, that they'll give you $23,000 if you hire 2 of their people to work there. Two natives must work there. So if you started up business bank accounts, you start up a business in America, you got your business established in America, business bank accounts in America. Then you set up a bank in another country like Japan. Same business, just in Japan. That would be an international business. Yeah, you got international laws, international taxes, but it's an international business. International business has different tax brackets. They have different requirements and regulations and laws and stuff that they have to adhere to in both countries. But now when you get on the airplane to the other country, you're not flying to the other country on vacation, you're flying to the other country on business, which means that you actually establishing a business in another country, you would be setting yourself up for a large quantity of success, which is something different than what we're used to, because we're used to being successful by showing up and doing what we're told by our employer. But if we were self-employed, where our lifestyle was being a walking business, we would get paid to go and do things that we otherwise would not be able to do. And then we would not have to deal with so much restriction in our current culture, where we don't feel free to do the stuff that we are free to do as American citizens. So I strongly encourage you, now that we have a red team running the country, this is the year that capitalism at its best runs wild. We should be able to get out there and start up all kinds of businesses. We should be able to get up there and get all kinds of loans. And since they got rid of affirmative action business loans, you're not going to be able to get a loan because you're black. You're going to have to get a loan because you're good at what you do. You're going to have a business model that makes sense in order for them to give you money. But if you can build a business, however, if you can build a business, the kind of business that will allow you to be able to do stuff on both sides of the water, I promise you, you will be more successful with getting investors, because people like to invest in big business. People like to invest in medium business. People like to invest in startup businesses that have become medium businesses, where those medium businesses look like they're pretty successful on both sides of the water. They have no problem with investing in those businesses. Now, keep in mind, some people want to invest in those businesses so that they can take profit shares and voting shares. But for the most part, they tend to like to be involved with something that looks like it can be successful, because rich people don't really want to put in a lot of effort to get richer. They just want to put their money in a location where the effort that is done where their money is located at will make them more money. And those of us that want to get rich must start thinking the same way, that you got to put your money where it needs to be at for you to make a buck. We have to be able to think more consistently towards our own individual successes. And until we start thinking consistently towards our own individual successes, we're going to forever be working for somebody else, wishing that we had time off, wishing that we had more money, wishing that we had more ability to be successful, wishing that we were able to retire and still be able to afford to live. Because even if you've got you a really good job, but you're living from paycheck to paycheck, if you quit your job today, you're going to be homeless inside of 6 weeks because you don't have enough money to pay your bills after you quit your job. You have to get another job. You don't have a residual income coming in. So all of these tips and tricks and stuff that I've been telling you guys that you guys could benefit from so that you guys can make yourself successful, like making offshore bank accounts attached to your business where you can establish a foreign domestic business over there, where you can establish the ability to build up in more than one location. You guys can make yourself richer faster if you just really expanded your horizons. So don't just listen to those people that tell you, oh, get an LLC, get an LLC. Listen to those people that are telling you, bro, go set up a C corporation and put yourself in all 5 seats. That way can't nobody take your business over without you knowing about it. Make sure that you fill in all the blanks. Make sure that you have 100% shares on the business. Make sure that when you set up shares and you start distributing shares, that you're not distributing shares up to 75% of your, because somebody else could buy you out. Once they got a good idea and you have unlimited shares for sale, they'll buy you out. You don't want somebody to buy you out. You want to put up less than half. You want to put up like 30% of your shares or 40% of your shares, where if one person bought 100% of your shares, you still got 60% ownership of your business. And most businesses, voters' rights allows 50% plus one votes to rule in favor of or against any type of scenario. So if somebody wants a possession of your business and they say, oh, yeah, I'll do X, Y, and Z, I just want 20% ownership of the business. Sure. 20% still doesn't give you the right to tell me what I'm not going to do, because if we voted between the two of us, I have 80%. You can say no, but I overrule you because I have 80%. 8 points if I say no, 2 points if you say yes. If 2 people say, hey, I want to buy in, and each one of us wants 20%, that's it. You have no other space because you've got 2 people voting. And that's the biggest problem that you're going to have. If you have 2 people voting and each one of them wants 20%, together they can't overrule you because they are only able to accumulate 40% vote between the two of them. They're not able to overrule you and rule you out and cut you out. So being able to do big business requires you to think big business. It requires you to function big business. It requires you to start making big business moves. And you can do a lot of this stuff for yourself in increments. Instead of taking money and going out to the club and hanging out, instead of spending a bunch of extra money on wasteful hair and makeup and stuff, instead of going on dates trying to impress people, take that extra money that you're spending on entertainment, set you up a business, get you a tax ID, get you a business license in the state. And the business license doesn't require you to go to a class and get certified on it. It requires you to register your business for the type of business that you plan on doing. Then you start gaining all of these tax credits. You file taxes with the business, with your W-2, and all the money you're putting into your business in some way, shape, or form has a level of tax deductions, which actually goes against the money they took out of your paycheck for your W-2, which then guess what? You get back all of this money from the U.S. government. Instead of owing them a couple $100s a year, all the thousands of dollars they took out of your check, they can give you that money back because you were putting all this money into a business that you were starting up, which then gives you the ability to use that money to get the business off the ground. You can be the only employee in the business at first until you start increasing the operation to a magnitude where you start getting more clientele. You get more clientele, you hire somebody to take over, teach them how to do the job, and then you just keep expanding from there. But if you are one of 5 businesses, one of 5 employees in the business, and you got the business running, it's self-sustainable, and you want to go and start up the same type of business in Japan and teach 5 people how to do it in Japan, where you got Japan making money for you and the United States making money for you, even if it's a small business, even if it's a couple $100,000 a year, if it's a couple $100,000 a year per business, that's almost $500,000 a year worldwide. And after your overhead is covered, everything else is yours. But if you take everything else and you put it into stocks and bonds and trusts and mutualities and Bitcoin and let that money make money for you, after your employees made you a profit, you put the profit into a stock margin where you're starting to gain almost 20 to 80% interest on your stock margin. You're able to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which gives you the ability to redirect that money into a trust bank account that can issue you a monthly salary where you can give yourself $5,000 or $6,000 a month. And if you're making $5,000 or $6,000 a month as a beneficiary of all these other people putting in work, why don't we do this on a regular basis? Why don't we put time and effort into establishing a regular income for ourselves where we can quit working and allow ourselves to make money on a regular basis? Why don't we do that? With the way they're about to do it, with the new structure that's about to go into effect for 2025, you already see that if you set up this type of structure where you would be able to benefit yourself in the long run, you can set up a 10-year plan, you can set you up a 20-year plan, doesn't matter. Whatever you decide to do, if you include the offshore banking that I'm telling you about right now, where they, matter of fact, they can the trust can issue you money to your offshore account. You could put all the money into your U.S. trust and have your U.S. trust mail the money to your offshore account. Then you can go to your offshore account and you can go live over there where your offshore account is. You don't really got to worry about what happens to your money because your money is making money for you. Your money is depositing money into an account. You're using that account whenever you feel like it, where you got a surplus of money where what you're getting is not as much as you need to use. And when you're living off of 20%, 25%, 15% of the money that's being deposited on a regular basis, you are not broke. You know that if you are making $5,000 or $7,000 a month in the United States, and that's not a lot of money in the United States, but you only need $1,000 to $2,000 a month to live in Japan or the Philippines or something like that. $3,000, you're living like a king amongst kings where you're excessively wasteful, but you're making $3,000 more than that you could be living a lovely life instead of struggling every day trying to make ends meet. You're struggling to make ends meet when you can establish yourself the type of empire where your money will make money for you and you don't have to struggle to make ends meet because you have a surplus. And I have not figured out why we have not contemplated how to build a surplus. We do not have in our local schools anything that teaches us how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money. We're taught how to show up on time, sit and face the front in a conveyor belt style. We're taught how to follow instructions and walk with one teacher in the front and one teacher in the back, just like inmates. And we are taught to, how you doing, Rudimus? We are taught to do everything except big business. You are not seeing anybody in ninth grade, 10th grade, 12th grade being taught how to negotiate. They're not being taught how to compromise. You're not being taught anything about business, how to network and establish more connections. One of the things that a lot of my students have a trouble with is, how do I get into college? And then when I get into college, how do I get out of college and get into the job? They don't even know how to network themselves into the university that they want to get into. They don't know how to network themselves out of the university into a 4-year out of a 4-year institution into a good employment area. They don't know where to go or what to do. And this is supposed to be common knowledge stuff, but the good old boys club and those apprenticeship scenarios where big business teaches the next generation how to take over the business, they learn how to do that. They learn how to leverage the person they're about to get into the meeting with by exploiting that person's desires. They learn how to communicate with each other. They learn how not to be leveraged if they can help it. But we don't know these things. Why don't we teach each other these things? This is what I keep telling you. He said, Rudimus says, you are going good. Keep going. Yes, sir. I am definitely like the Energizer Bunny on this one. I know I'm still struggling with the internet scenario. We're supposed to be relocating coming soon so that we can get to a better location with the internet service. And once that happens, we'll go to 4K and HD. Right now, our video quality is very subpar, and I'm well aware of that. but we have to work around the fact that we are in a location with 3 down network towers in a 500-mile radius. And we've only got 1 or 2 network towers nearby that are fluctuating. So we're dealing with bad bandwidth. No matter how much money you spend, you're at the mercy of the company providing the service. And I'm in an area where the actual cell towers that provides all the network in the state, this half of the state has bad network. So I have to go to another location on the other side to get better network. Until then, we just got to make do with the lack of fluctuate. We got drop frames and everything like that. So I understand that. Outside of that, though, it's good to see you here. I know that the last time you talked to me, you were almost at 2,000 points ranking when you were playing chess. So hopefully you're still doing good with that. Mr. Pibb started playing video games on Twitch. He told me that it was too hard to co-host the show because, that requires effort. So I've been doing a solo show for the past few months, and actually we're actually getting a larger quantity of viewership, and we're crossing over about 60,000 views a month on both YouTube and TikTok, as well as we're starting to increase viewership on Twitter. And we actually got a lot more followers on Twitch. So we've been getting a lot more branded content. I got a branded content video that's supposed to be coming out. It was supposed to come out today, but I was a little bit sluggish because I've been under the weather. I've been tired and burnt out because I've been burning a candle at both ends for the past forever, for the past year at least. And I needed a little bit of extra time off. So I did not finish the video before today's show. And then I had to deal with network issues with the internet. So I wasn't able to get the internet up and going the way I wanted to. So I'm probably going to finish the video after the show tonight. And then after that, have the video scheduled to air sometime tomorrow. There are supposed to be some products that are supposed to be sent to me coming soon from Boxel, and Boxel had offered me 2 different types of products. So now I have to find out from each contract which products am I supposed to be promoting, and then what links I'm supposed to be using for those products. So I have to reach back out to both of the contracts to find out who's doing what. Somebody wants me to talk about gummies. Somebody wants me to talk about something else. So I'm like, okay, whoever pays me to do whatever, hey, I got it. So at some point in time, you're going to see me showing you guys some new stuff. I think I was supposed to show you guys because I had got some stuff from White Lotus. It was supposed to be a body massager cup thing with the spray and the oils, and the tea tree oils reminds me of the tea tree oils that you put into your hair to help your hair grow. But I thought it was very amazing. There I go with those butts again. I thought it was very amazing. The stuff but it's like $109 for the set. I encourage the ladies to go and pick it up. But I can see again why, again with those butts, why men have to spend so much money for the women's upkeep, because I mean, 3 items, it's I guess cheap in comparison to going to a salon, but 3 items cost $109, and it wasn't very large quantities of stuff. So I'm more than sure that that's something that might last you with daily use or weekly use, and it might last you for about a month, and then you're going to have to buy some more. So I see why men have to struggle so hard with women's upkeep. But I still, again with the butts, I think it's because I'm doing so many contradictions. I still believe that women should pay for their own upkeep. That's my faith on that. I believe that the men should be investing in stuff because I can't say I've asked some women about this, and some of the women that I talk to say that men, and I'm like, but why isn't that a universal expectation? So with that being said, we got some comments here. Let's go ahead and grab them. Yeah, Bricko Mode is here. You said you were in Utah and you're screaming Ohio. You know Ohio and Utah are not the same, right? And he did not lock in Wisconsin. He did get Pennsylvania. We were trying to figure out when he was going to get. Ohio is a meme. Like the only in Ohio meme. It was huge. I think the only Ohio meme that I can remember was like, was it Eli Manning, Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning, who would say like Ohio right before the hut. He said still pretty big. Well, in your generation it might be. In your generation it might be, because I got to remember, like, you guys like you were what, 2020? No, 2014, right? So in your generation, yeah, I guess that would be probably the biggest thing. Because I could tell you that from my generation, when we had 8-track tape players, Walkmans was the biggest thing. The portable CD player was the biggest thing. Color TV was the biggest thing. You're talking about you're talking about memes is like the biggest trend. Paper airplanes that flew for miles was the biggest trend when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you talk about skateboarding, 2007. That is not that long ago, youngin. So yeah, that's not that long ago. You were born 2 years before the internet was created. So you don't know what life was like before video games. You don't know what life was like before we had wet behind the ears. Don't lie. He's sitting over here talking about he was born in 47. You wouldn't have a pulse if you were born in 47. You can't even throw in 47. No. No, nobody from 1947 knows how to use a computer, much less how to type on one, much less how to log into a YouTube platform to find my podcast and zoom in. Oldest person on my podcast right now is about 65 or 67 years old, and 68 was in 56. So you being 47 would have been 10 years older than that. You'd be on life support right now, bro. I'm a media. I disagree. Did you guys just get back from school? You're screaming Ohio this time of night. It's got to be what, 3 hours ago in California. It's what, 6 o'clock right now, 7 o'clock right now. What do you what you guys do for Halloween? What you guys do for Halloween? Do you guys go somewhere for Halloween? Y'all went trick or treating. What's trick or treating like these days? Because Halloween was supposed to be last week. What's trick or treating like? Because after a certain age, you stop participating in Halloween. I think like 35, you quit participating in Halloween. Because Halloween is supposed to be for the kids. So what you guys do for Halloween? Egg homes. That's what we used to do. You went to a plant convention. You can't tell you went to a plant convention. All right. I'm gonna hold on to your claim that you are from 1947, but I can tell you that that would put you in your 70s, and nobody is working at a plant in their 70s. You retire. You was at a Camilla rally? Well, why would you do that when you talked so bad about her yesterday? You were saying yesterday that she was destroying the country. She hadn't had a chance to put any effort into helping the country succeed, but you're going to say that she's got this plan to destroy the country. So I don't know. 77. So now you say, so you're saying that you're 77. All right, I'm going to buy the fact that you're 77. But the way you guys were going back and forth on a podcast the other day, I didn't see 77 that day. So let's buy that 77. Hey, you could have went to a Camila rally. You could tell me if you went to a Camila rally and was egging CIA vehicles. I mean, hey, it's up to you. I'm not going to encourage that type of behavior because I'm live. But again, contradiction. If a couple black vehicles aren't black anymore, it's part of being American. They're supposed to work for both foreign and domestic. He says that he has too much integrity to go to a Camila rally. Do you realize what you're trying to imply? The Democratic Party actually benefits the lesser income. The Republican Party benefits the wealthy. 1% of the American people are wealthy. 99% of the American people are not. And you're saying that you have too much integrity to go to a location where a group of people is claiming to represent 99% of the population of the country that you live in. That is not a level of integrity. Just saying. Think about this for a second, because I'm not gonna try to bash one side over the other, because I was abstained. So you're not even gonna. I voted for free healthcare, and that was back in like 16. So look at the fact that, hold on here, he says, if the Democrats help lower income people, I definitely ask high income. That's not true. I seen the Airbnb, but I seen the Airbnb. That is not high income. That is middle class income. That is under $200,000 a year income. That you would not be in the top 23%. Okay, so let's be honest. You don't make money. Your papa makes money, and daddy doesn't make $250,000 a year. Okay, we both know that. Now, with that being said, you have to understand that if you're not making $250,000 a year, you are not in the top 23 percentile, which means you are not being represented by Republican policies. Republican policies represents big business. Big business is making $500,000 or $1 million a year. Big business is your dad is not Elon Musk. If your dad was Elon Musk, you wouldn't even be on my podcast. Let's just be real. Matter of fact, if your dad was Elon Musk, he would slap you for not primarily joining his podcast from TikTok or Twitter. Your dad's not Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk has children. He's building robots for companionship, so I don't think that he even has children. So you can't throw that curveball like, oh, Elon's my dad. That's like me saying, oh, OJ Simpson's my dad. Come on now, let's be real. Look at the logic behind this. Because again, if Elon Musk was your dad, you would have enough advertisement to have your own podcast, where you would not have time to see my podcast because you would be starring in your own podcast. Judge George Floyd. So now you're changing dads now. George Floyd. Nah, you couldn't be George Floyd. Isn't George Floyd the guy that couldn't breathe? Now you're just making stuff up. Now you might as well just say that you're George Zimmerman's son. Now that's more believable. That's more believable. Either way, you're looking at the constraints. You don't make money. That's impossible because OJ stopped having kids in the 80s, and you said you were born in 2007, so you can't have OJ as a dad. Just, And have you worked with my father on field 3? Would I work with your father on field 3? I would not have worked with your father on field 3, but if you're 77 years old, I'm pretty sure my grandfather would have worked with your father on field 3. And that's assuming that your father would have been on field 3, because your father might have actually been on the porch of field 3. Implications there. Did we finish the work on field 3? No, actually what happened was right before we got to the end of the workload, they had brought us this letter and told us that we were all freed from the work we were doing. And since then, nobody's gone back to work. So those fields are still unpicked. We are as a matter of fact, since we stopped showing up, the only people that show up for work now are from Mexico. And a lot of people are complaining about that, but there's a lot of people from Mexico working in field 3. Ah, I like that. I like that. He throws it up there. Ah, so that's where you're going from. Well, I can't really say that they wasn't. I mean, I ain't never had to grab cotton out of an aspirin bottle before. So, you know. But I'm my own boss. So, you know. Can I say happy? He wants me to say happy birthday to his brother. So, yeah, I'll say happy birthday. I don't know who that is. I'm guessing it is was that Dizon? Is Dizon part of the Skippity Toilet crew? Is Dizon part of the Skippity Toilet crew? Yeah, you're saying yeah, you're saying Dizon. Yeah. Yeah, you said it again. Yeah, you said it again. So I'm sitting over here looking at like you're saying that your brother that it sounds very tribal. You're it sounds very very tribal. So Dizon, what? So Dizon is 6. That your uh pronunciation of that is not how it is spelled. Whoever named that child should, and that is not how you spell pronounce. And so whoever named that child needs to go back to school and learn how to spell. Um Previon. He said he being for real, he Peruvian. That's not how you spell Peruvian. And then that that's where the name comes from. No cap. So he wants to give a shout out to Dizon, that is pronounced as Dixon. So his brothers apparently got a name that is called Dixon. Happy birthday, Dixon. 6 years old. Probably the worst time of the year to have a birthday because you are right after Halloween, right before Thanksgiving, where there is nobody's really doing anything at that point because you have all the money spent on the Halloween candy, Halloween decorations, Halloween party. Then the rest of the money spent on Thanksgiving, and whatever's left over is buying Christmas gifts. So if your birthday is between October 31st and December 5th, you're probably not going to be paid attention to. Peruvian. Will Camilla Harris build a wall? I mean, Camilla Harris was focused on hidden fees. So I don't think that she'll do anything productive unless she gets in the office and gives all the people with a good tan $1 million a piece. It's probably the only most productive thing that she has on her agenda. And I spent a couple hours talking about that yesterday. Beyond that, I don't see her really doing anything, at least not to benefit the male portion of the population, because the feminist movement to take away the man's right to decide if the child should be aborted is just like a really horrible thing to do from the man's perspective, because I personally believe that if at least one person wants that child to live between the two people who created the child, that the child should not be aborted. I strongly believe that. I'm not going to say that a man deserves the right to tell a woman that she cannot have the child, but I don't believe that the exclusive decision to allow the child to live should only be on that of the woman. I don't think that that's fair. Women are going to say, oh, well, it's my body. What happens if something bad happens to me and I was attacked by somebody and a child as a result? He's not looking for a child. He's in prison. That's different. I'm talking about on the normal day-to-day circumstances where you're careless about your decisions. You sleep with the man, you end up pregnant by that man. You don't want to tell him that he's the father, and you decide to abort the child without his knowledge or consent. That's what I'm talking about, and I think that that's wrong. You should not be given the right, when it's not negatively impacting your health to give birth to this child, that you're going to abort the child because you don't want responsibility and you don't have the adult mentality to go and tell the person that helped you create it, hey, this happened. Now, if he tells you he doesn't want it, then by all means you can abort it. But truth be told, why abort it? Why not give it up for adoption? There are surrogates all over the place. There are women over menopause stage that wants children. Why not just adopt out the child instead of eliminating the child? But there are so many people that believe that, oh, we should be able to abort the child. And you have to understand that no matter what religion that you're in, when you start talking about abortion, you start talking about ending the life of something that does not have the ability to defend itself. And while that is deemed a crime in certain areas of the United States, it is allowed in certain circumstances, even if it goes against your own religious beliefs. So when you claim that anyone who claims to be Catholic or Christian, one of those top 10 commandments is that you're not supposed to be taking lives unjustifiably and unnecessarily. And if you're over there getting abortions, you're not even honoring your own religious beliefs. So there are no morals and ethics behind aborting a child that is not negatively compromising your health. There's no morals or ethics behind it. There are none. If you don't want it, give it away. In New York, they've got a safety deposit box. You can just drop the kid off into a safety deposit box and let somebody else take the kid. You don't even need to know what the child's name is. You don't have to do anything other than drop the kid into the safety deposit box and walk away. So why is it that you guys can, instead of Camilla finding ways to aid the country in doing something about the unplanned pregnancies, she's just like, eliminate them. Wasn't there testimony in the Bible about that one king that was eliminating all the children? Will Camilla let drugs into the country? First of all, hold on. Let me put the question back up there. So he is asking me, will the vice president allow, because she's only the vice president for like the next 30 days, 45 days. And then after that, she's not even vice president anymore. She's just like former vice president. So she ain't got that much more things to talk about between November and December 2024. But you're asking me, will she allow, if she was elected president, when she was behind, the last time I seen the polls, she had like 225 and he had like 267, and he was 3 points away from getting approved. So so hold on a second, because you're asking me, did I kick you? No, I did not. I don't waste time with kicking people. A lot of the times, as long as you are reasonably appropriate on the podcast. If I think the only time that I've ever blocked an individual was because of the individual's behavior in the green room that I was observing on the camera. It's probably the only time I've ever, because it kept popping back up, intending on negatively impacting the podcast. I don't mind if people crash the podcast. I just prefer for you to crash the podcast in an appropriate fashion, because I would like to not get canceled because of your inappropriate behavior. You want to have fun on the podcast on a daily basis. You want to make sure that the podcast can exist on a daily basis. You don't want to say or do something that causes the podcast to get shut down. Now you don't have any place to entertain yourself. So even if you're going to ask me semi-ridiculous questions on a daily basis on the podcast, you want to do it in a fashion where I don't get canceled because of your behavior. Because first person accountability is that you can negatively impact somebody else's success because of the things that you say. But no, I have not blocked you. There are some guidelines that if you're not following those guidelines, then YouTube is starting to flag your comments. And if YouTube is flagging your comments, you need to be careful about that, because YouTube will ban your account from the comment section, where you won't be able to log into YouTube anymore because of the comments that you're delivering. So I don't have, notice my hands are way over here. I'm not even touching the computer until I move on to the next comment. So just think about that. If your comments aren't being seen, sir, it ain't because of me. But when you ask me about is Camilla bringing drugs, allowing people to bring drugs into the country, first of all, no president in the United States history has control over whether or not people commit crime in this country, and no president in U.S. history has ever had control over whether or not drugs or guns or anything else gets imported or exported out of the country. ATF and CIA and the FBI have joint task force that work together to try to minimize and reduce that. But I'm going to be honest with you, with the high rates of fentanyl in the country over the years, they are not able to stop everything from happening. And I'm not going to blame any president or vice president for that particular type of scenario. But when we start thinking about 9/11 real quick, we need to just remember that the same U.S. government that allowed 2 airplanes to crash into U.S. territories, that took off from U.S. territories and flew into U.S. airspace and destroyed U.S. citizens' lives and livelihoods and devastated the country for generations to come, is the same U.S. government that is still employed today. So I can't say, if they can't stop 2 planes from causing trouble in the United States airspace, that they can do anything about the stuff that's being smuggled across the border. Okay? That's just facts. I'm not even going to sit here and talk bad about folks. I'm just saying that's just facts. You had 2 of the, and really it was more than 2 planes, because you had 2 planes crash into the 2 twin towers that used to exist up until 2011. And then you also have the one that crash landed on the Pentagon land, the front lawn. So at least 3 planes that didn't get stopped. He should have been eliminated before they caused devastation. The Twin Towers should have never fallen. But let's just understand that not everybody is perfect. People make mistakes or fail to take action. It just happens. He says, I think that it's okay that abortion is wrong. I'm not saying that abortion is wrong. I said that it is wrong for me not to have a say in abortion when I'm the father. That's what I said. I said that those people who think that taking a life is wrong should think that abortion is wrong, because abortion is taking a life. I never said that abortion was wrong. My neutrality, I come from uniformity. I don't come from right and wrong. You can test on humans the way cosmetics test on humans, and cosmetics test on animals, and perfumes and fragrances test on animals, and medication is tested on animals, and medication is tested on humans. You have human trial studies. You can actually sign up for these things and get paid for it. I'm not going to say that it's wrong for it to happen. I'm just saying that uniformly speaking, if one group is not allowed to do it, then the other group shouldn't be allowed to. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if it is your right to do things a certain way, I should have the same rights as you. That's what I'm saying. So I never once said that I think that abortion is wrong. I think that it is wrong that I don't have a say in the abortion. That's what I thought is wrong. Because in that same country, if you decide to have it, now I have a financial obligation. So if I didn't want it, I can't make you get rid of it. But because you chose to keep it, now I am obligated to pay for it. I don't agree with those terms. You're basically saying that somebody who is not me has more control over my rights and my resources and my life and my lineage than I do. But I have no say in the matter. I'm supposed to accept it and pay for it. That's what you're saying. I don't agree with that, because you two gentlemen right now today, if somebody else told you that you were responsible for somebody else's mistakes and you had to pay for that out of your pocket, you were responsible for somebody else's bad decisions and you had to pay with that with your free time, would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with sitting in detention because somebody else did something that you wasn't even involved in? Would you be okay with getting suspended from school, being kicked off the team, not being allowed to participate in the school functions because somebody in your school did something that you was not involved in? Would you be okay with that? I got one person that lets me know you're not 77 years old, because this guy said yes, he'd be okay with that. No, you wouldn't be okay with that. You would not be okay with if your parents took away your computer, your cell phone, took away your PlayStation, got rid of your GTA 6 because somebody else did something wrong that you weren't involved in. You wouldn't be okay with that. What he asked me a question, what race am I? I don't know, sir. If you can't look at me and decipher that, I can't really help you with the answer to that question. He says, do I think that Camila actually cares about the American people? Politicians are acting on just business. Do they care about the American people? I don't know her to say if she cares about the American. I know that she, as a woman, she cares about some of the things that she's promoting for the women, but I can also say that she's not paying attention to both sides of the fence when she's making decisions that are one-sided, and half of the voters that are going to be voting for her are men that are negatively impacted by her decision to make that happen. But I also can say that when she starts talking about giving reparations to 75% of the population because of their lineage, that you're going to be negatively impacting the other 25% of the population that doesn't meet that criteria. I can say that while you're calling yourself trying to do the best that you can for the majority of people, in some situations, you will be negatively impacting a majority of people on the other side of the fence. But that's the part of being a president. You have to make the tough choice. Can she make the tough choice? She's been having trouble with answering questions in debates. So can she make the tough choice? Do I think Jill Stan can make a comeback next election? Jill Steen, bro, who is that and where were they in this election? That isn't the vice president for Camila, and that isn't Vance, who is the vice president of Trump. So who is that? And with that being said, since that person is not really of relevance in the current election, that means they weren't popular enough to have the policies important enough for people to even talk about who that person is. Then you're going to ask me, do I think that person is going to make a comeback? Comeback from what? What comeback is that person going to make if they never made an impact in the beginning? That's like saying a person who never came to work got fired. Do you think they'll get their job back? You never had it. You didn't show up for work. So how do you make a comeback from never making it to begin with? That's like saying Collins is going to be the best there is forever. He hasn't reached the best. He don't really have his own shoe deal. You said he had a shoe deal. Eston is not a shoe deal. Like talking about it. It ain't gosh doggone Adidas or Reebok or Nike or something like that. Shoot. You made it seem like that dude was up there like Tony Pro Skater. He ain't even Pro Skate. Tony got more stuff. How does Collins allies end up on the same video game as Tony, and he not on the video game? When that boy gonna make his own video game? Y'all got Xbox Live now. Y'all got PlayStation Live now. Why he's supposed to be the best or one of the best, I guess, freestyle skaters. And he don't even, they got a backyard wrestling video game. You ain't even got a freestyle pro game with Collins on it. What's up with that? Explain to me that. Why your boy supposed to be the best skateboarder? He ain't even in the good Guinness Book of Records of being the best skateboarder. Help me understand, brother. Help me. I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. You want me to you asking me questions about Camila? She technically ain't even relevant. She's down 50 something votes, 50 something electoral votes just to tie. She ain't gonna make it unless they overturn the decision and give her the last 5 or 6 unclaimed states. She ain't gonna make it. So that means that she ain't even relevant in America's future. So let's talk about Collins. Let's talk about his lack of effectiveness in skateboarding. I know some video games that are more exciting than his skateboarding style. I know some skateboarding video games that are not Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Matter of fact, Snowboard Kids was better. Snowboard Kids with the frying pan and all that stuff, that was so much better. Mario Kart. And I know you know when something's good because Mario Kart first came out when I was half your age. And Mario Kart is still a thing now. That's when it's good. Collins ain't beat out Mario Kart. Collins wasn't in the Super Bowl. He was an Olympic gold medalist, wasn't in 2024. You seen those garbage break dancers that they put up there, people who didn't even know their left foot from their right foot in a breakdancing competition, and they're handing out gold medalists to people who can't dance or stand up straight, and they gave Olympic gold medalists to them. Did Collins get an Olympic gold medal this year? Your hero, your idol, skateboard king, according to you. When did he get his gold medal? Because with the garbage they had in the Olympic Games this year, if Collins didn't get a gold medal this year, bro, he is not as good as you say he is. I'm trying to figure out. Let's do some highlights over here. Let's do some highlights. While you think about it, I'm gonna Google it. When did Collins? When did Collins become a Look at that. Hold on. When did I don't know why they keep doing this to me because I do not like using Yahoo. There we go. You said his name was what? Joe Collins? All right, so we're looking. That's a girl. Am I spelling his name wrong? I said Joe Collins. Was it supposed to be Jocelyn? Yeah, let's do Jocelyn. There's a Doug Collins. So your skateboarding guy doesn't even get Yotu Horigimo is the Olympic gold medalist for skateboarding. So when did your skateboarding guy that you say that you like so much, when did that guy win an Olympic gold medal? He said, I don't support the Olympics. I'm with you on that. I don't really like the Olympics. All right, I'm gonna tell you right now. I like women's tennis, women's volleyball. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. I'm not even like all infatuated with the women's figure skating. I I'm not enthusiastic about the women's golf. Um, yeah, because they no, they didn't. All right, you started something. He said he don't believe in the Olympics. He doesn't support Olympics because they mocked religion. That's not true. What happened was all sports in the Olympics are supposed to be uniform, and we are supposed to accommodate the laws in the country that hosts that sport. Now, the thing is that most sports in most countries do not allow you to wear any type of garments over your participating attire if those garments are not required for your performance in that Olympic activity, in that athletic sport. Which means, I'm going to pause for a minute because I want to make sure that y'all catch up. This means that you're not wearing a do-rag, you're not wearing a bandana, you're not going in there with cool Mod shades, you're not wearing 40 gold chains around your neck like Mr. T when you're going to participate in the activity. You're not doing it. You don't have a bunch of extra gold rings the size of Super Bowl championships when you're going into to participate in the activity. So the fact is that Olympics are supposed to be neutral, like Switzerland. The Olympics have allowed certain countries' religious beliefs, like the hijab, to be worn during ceremonies and Olympic Games out of respect for those people's ability to come out from their oppression. But it is a biased decision to make because everybody is supposed to be the same in the Olympics and only judged by their talent, not their religious background, not their heritage. Okay. So this past year, and I already did this show already, you missed it. The Olympics did not allow those countries to express their religious beliefs in Finland because Finland has a national law that says that you cannot wear religious garments in public. Not because the Olympics Association said we're going to pick on the people with the turbans. That isn't what happened. What happened was, in a country that says it is against the law to wear religious clothing, the Olympics was held in that country, which means you couldn't get off the plane with religious clothing. You wouldn't be able to commute through the streets to get to the Olympic Stadium with those religious clothing, which means you would not be able to participate in the ceremonies in open public with religious clothing. So you wouldn't even be able to make it to the activity, to participate in the activity with religious clothing because it's against the law. So the Olympics didn't mock anybody's religion. But because it is against athletic policy for you to wear anything on your head that is not part of the sport that you're participating in, you're technically not supposed to wear it anyway. It is a violation of athletic participation in those sports that you have stuff on your head that does not contribute to your safety in the sport. If it's a female, you're supposed to have your hair tied up. If it nothing. He said, what about a cross? What about a cross? Nothing. You're not supposed to have nothing on. Nothing. You are supposed to be able to wear the uniform that you are issued, and outside of the uniform, if you're wearing protective gear like helmets, earmuffs, mouth guards, eyepieces that protects your eyes for the sport that you're playing in, that's it. The only thing you're supposed to be wearing on your head is a hair tie to keep your hair out of your face, or a headband as a sweat guard. That is it. So the hijab, you're not supposed to be wearing that because it is against athletic sports rules and regulations to not have headgear on, not to not promote your religious belief, to not have headgear. He's going to say, oh, they mocked the cross. They didn't mock the cross, because mocking the cross would be turning it upside down. Mocking the cross would be getting a cross tattoo on your forearm, knowing that 90% of the time that cross is going to be upside down. It doesn't matter whether or not the cross is facing up when your hand is up, or if the cross is facing up when your hand is down. When you move your arm in the opposite direction, you're inverting the cross, which is an antichrist symbol. So why would you say that somebody is mocking the cross because they say that you can't wear it in a country that said that you're not allowed to wear that? You're not supposed to wear religious stuff in Finland. It's against their laws. Before you go to another country, you are supposed to know what their laws say and respect their laws. Just because you're not a citizen of that country doesn't mean that you can say that their country's laws don't apply to you. While you're on their soil, you can be put into their jail for violating their law, and your country cannot come and get you. Unless, of course, you're Kamala Harris's vice president, go over there and go and get the 23 people that broke the laws in Russia. But all that does is make that country have less respect for Americans when Americans go to other countries and don't obey their laws. Then you get racial bias against you, because they're going to say, oh, you're American. You don't have respect. You're uncivilized because you don't respect their laws. So you can't say that they mocked her religion because she went over there with a cross. She didn't even go, to be honest with you, bro. She got a phone call and was told that Finland won't allow her to go to their country with religious garbs on, and she didn't even get on the plane. All right. You would have had a better argument talking about the people who were participating in the Olympic sports from countries that were banned because of the conflicts in Ukraine, and those people who were banned had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with the conflicts, but because their passport came from a country that was in conflict, they got banned from being able to participate. And those people who were allowed to participate had to be non-affiliated participants. So if you had somebody from that country on a U.S. team or a Chinese team or a Korean team where they went over there, got a visa, got on the Olympic team, and now they're participating in a game, they were kicked off the last minute. They're kicked out of the Olympics. They've been training for this for 4 years, and they got kicked out because of conflict that has nothing to do with them. The rest of them, originating from that country, had to go there with all white on, not representing any country, for the 2 or 3 people that would be allowed to participate. Do you know how messed up that was? That's way more messed up than your false claim that somebody's picking on somebody else because of their religion. No, they're just enforcing the laws uniformly, and people are being pissy about it because they don't want to be told what they can't do. But you're supposed to have respect for other people the way you demand respect for yourself. And if somebody says, in this country, you can't do that, if that's what you want to do, don't go to this country. What she chose to do, not go to that country. So they're not picking on her religion. Actually, to be honest with you, they are depriving everybody else's religion from equal expression in the Olympics, because they only allowed her religion to be expressed in the Olympics. So by putting a stop to that, they brought back neutrality, which actually means that for the first time in forever, they actually were not biased, because a bias against something actually can be reversed as bias for something. Allowing something to happen for one specific group is just as much bias as not allowing one specific group to do something that everybody else is allowed to do. But you can't say that they're playing favorites against her because they're not allowing her to do something that everybody else is not allowed to do. Do you like if it I don't even know what that's about. And they mocked the final. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. He's talking about stuff right now. He's talking about stuff right now that is you're definitely not 77 years old if that's what you believe. That's no, they didn't. They didn't. You Americans mock that. Americans mock that. You've seen it on Saturday Night Live. You've seen it on The Passion of the Christ. Americans mock that. Okay. That's not something that's nobody's mocking. The Olympics didn't really mock anybody. The Olympics didn't make any comments for or against anybody's religion. I know because I did 2 shows about it. People thought it was unfair because the people's country came out of oppression and they want to be able to express their freedom to. You're not in a country that has a First Amendment constitutional right to express yourself. You're in a country that has a law that says that you're not allowed to express yourself, that you're supposed to present yourself as normal, as common, not unique. America is one of very few countries that encourages people to be unique, even if it's degrading and disrespecting yourself. America is one of the only countries that encourages people to be unique, to stand out like a sore thumb, not stand out like a prize, to stand out like a sore thumb. And a sore thumb is beat up, bruised, and tethered. They don't encourage you to stand out in a positive light. I encourage you to stand out in a positive light on this podcast. I encourage you to hold yourselves with a higher level of self-respect and a higher level of dignity. And then I try my best to encourage you to make better choices with yourselves, because the things that you're doing on this podcast right now today is going to be live and it's going to be aired all over the place. And once they correlate the two of you to the other channels that you guys like to bomb on, I can promise you that when you go to a business interview, you'll be wondering why you're having trouble finding a first job. That's because of the things that you say and do on social media. When you put in an application and you put your name on the paper, the first thing they do is they go try to find out where you've been. So they're looking up any criminal records, any legal matters with your name on it, and all social media handles that your name is tied to. And if they can find a video or a comment that's attached to you, they're going to judge you based on that. You're not retired. You're not even old enough to be retired. You're actually not even old enough to be employed, to be honest with you. You can't tell me that you're retired. I mean, I appreciate you guys coming to the podcast, and by all means, you're always welcome, because I mean, you're never too young to not learn about offshore banking. And you're never too young to understand that the tax benefits of offshore banking. And you're also never too young to learn how to be responsible and carry yourself with dignity and self-worth. But you and your buddy were on a downhill slope when you're talking about you got more integrity than Camila. If you have that much integrity, aim to be the next president of the United States. Matter of fact, make it your goal, the two of you, to be the first president and vice president that made it in office at 35. Are you making music for you're making music for KSI? What is that? Are they on the watch list by the FBI? Who is that? Who is KSI? Because typically you guys be trying to soundbite me into a comment where if I say it online that you guys can get a good laugh about it because we can soundbite it later. And I promise you I'm going to soundbite it later. Which is why I read your comments before I throw them up there. And I read your comments before I read your comments out loud before I throw them up there. Because I know you guys have a habit of trying to tomfoolery me into, bro, I'm not Mo from The Simpsons. I'm not going to, oh, the fighter. You make it, you're doing music for the fighter. Didn't he come out to Eye of the Tiger because of you? And that was like off put from Rocky. Like what, why didn't you could have did better. Why didn't you what about the Joe Rogan, the UFC boxer? Why didn't you make music for him? He could use better music. Speaking of UFC fighters, what are you guys' opinion about the female UFC boxers? Clearly, every time the men do something awesome, the women have to take it over. But what is your opinion on the female UFC fighters? What were your thoughts on the one that was twerking in the ring because she was winning? I actually, when I saw that, I was disappointed. I was like, wow, that is taking. You don't really care about the female UFC. Why? They're bringing down the behavior of some of the female competitors is bringing down the quality of UFC. Usually your celebration is supposed to be somewhat appropriate. You don't see men gyrating like that in the ring when they win. And okay. So here's a question. Something that came up a few times on the show. I've been talking about it for a while. I got a question for you. What is your opinion on mixed gender competition? Do you believe that women should have exclusive competitions where it's women only competitions? You have never watched female competitions? Ah, man, you got to watch that. You got to watch it. I got to say, you got to watch it at least one time because some of them actually prove that there is domestic violence from women in the household, that it's not just the men. You should watch that. You should really go and check that out and really look at how they are aggressive. These females got more testosterone than estrogen. They are aggressive. You should really watch it. There's gore and everything involved with that. It's not like Rumble Roses, I can tell you that. You should definitely take a look at it. But what do you think about mixed gender competition? Do you think that women should be entitled to exclusive women's only competition, or should those women compete against men? Since all women want to be treated equally to men, do you think that women should have their own sports or that they should be included with the men in the sports? Because you've got female football and they do it horribly. They wear underwear instead of actual athletic gear and they do like half pad stuff. I like that. He says, sure, they should have it because they can see everyone's skills. And that's exactly right. We've been watching in the I think it's high school co-ed wrestling teams, and they've got two different girls that I've been following so far. One of them have been crushing the boys. She's a little minority girl, and she has been like Juventud Guerrero. She's just like really getting in there. You could mistaken her for like a cast member from Mortal Kombat, the way this child is out there wrestling with the boys. But then you got this other kid that is being choked out by almost everyone, male and female, that she competes against. And they're like, oh, it's so sad. She's in tears and she got beat. by a boy. I'm like, bro, she got beat by 3 girls and 2 boys this week. What are you talking about? She needs to get her skills up. She's and then the boys got it hard because boys can touch boys anywhere in athletic events, but boys can't touch girls anywhere in athletic events because they're taught that those areas are supposed to be off limits. So now the boys have to think calculating as to how do I grab her, not touch her inappropriately, and still perform the move. For example, scoop slam. How is a boy supposed to scoop slam a girl when they're supposed to reach in the same place that they can reach a dude? They can't reach that with the chick and scoop slam her. How is a boy supposed to scoop slam a girl? I mean, you could do a sidewalk slam, but you can't really do a scoop slam. You can do a fireman's carry, which is John Cena's FU. You can do a fireman's carry. You can do an F5, but you can't really scoop slam. You can do a German suplex. But I mean, where's the neutrality? Where's the neutrality? I call on these things on a regular basis. You guys are getting to that age. You guys are going to start driving cars. Did anybody teach you guys how to drive standard shift cars? Do you guys even know how to shift gears manually? And it's on every video game where the manual gear shift, you know how complicated it is to use the manual gear shift on a video game? Do you guys has anybody even taught you on a simulator? But you also realize until they replace truckers with those Tesla trucks that you can always end up getting yourself a job driving trucks for a living because lots of the trucks are manual shift trucks, manual transmissions, which are cheaper to fix, by the way. Yeah. You guys came to the podcast today and y'all stars of the show. Y'all are getting knowledge. Y'all are getting educated. We're going to teach you a thing or two. That's what's going on. So like when you were telling me Peruvian, we're going to have to get you some spell check. You're going to have to spell Peruvian in Google, copy and paste it into the comment section because auto spell check doesn't happen on YouTube's comment sections. And it is gruesome. I'm not going to lie to you. You know that if you type incomplete words, you will improve your speaking skills. And also, did you know that if you spoke proper English, the way that you write proper English, you would also improve your speaking skills. And did you know that you are offered more opportunities when you are competent and capable of speaking in complete proper English? First thing they think is you're smart and you have potential. And investors invest in potential. Women invest in the final product, but everyone else invests in the potential of better. They don't just wait for the best and go and invest in the best. They invest in the potential. So if you show that you have more potential, even at your current age, if you show that you have more potential by carrying yourself better, performing better, behaving better, you will end up with better results. You should take that under consideration. Take that under advisement. But as I check, I think from what I see right now, they're still at a standstill with the 267 to 224. I'll double check again later tonight and update you guys tomorrow as to what things are going to look like. But Red Team pretty much got it in the bag, though. I still think Wyoming is going to be the last one, but you never know. Arizona might sneak up, or Alaska might have thrown their hat in the ring. The bobsled probably got into land in Canada already and said, "Hey, we're gonna last 3 votes for red," and go ahead and shut the doors down. But so far, it's still like up in the air. I think they decided to take 2 days of breaks before they finished doing a count, since they did have to count 300 million people already, or 200 million at the very least. They still got at least 100 million or a few 100,000 people they got to collect information on before they get to the final straw. of who all, and that's out of the qualified participating members, not the people who did not choose to participate or unable to participate due to health purposes. So I'll update you guys as time goes forward as to the resolution of it. How close did she get before he got his 3? I'll let you guys know. But unless she does a massive overhaul, y'all, we ain't seeing that $1 million. I kind of feel like the next person that run should run with the first thing on his platform is, I'm gonna give $1 million to the reform for those people who, was involved in the stuff that happened in the early 1900s. I'm gonna give you guys, and you might actually get a lot of votes because that platform in combination to the current platform would be fantastic, because everybody who's responsible with their money would go into a higher tax bracket, and then everybody would be right there at the 30 percentile mark. And those who aren't in a 30 percentile mark because they wasted their money would definitely qualify for government assistance. But there would be so few people on government assistance if 75% of the population was given $1 million apiece because of the color of the skin. Just saying. Or the color of the skin of their ancestors, however you want to swing it. 1/32 of your blood qualifies you to get this money. Just trying to high five it. Either way it goes, that's all I have for you guys for today's show. I want you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe and join the membership. I really appreciate you guys coming to the show tonight. Remember, we're live 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. We typically try to run at least an hour. Sometimes we run 2 to 3 hours. We did kick up a little bit late today. Got off at like 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific today because we were dealing with the internet situation. But we typically try to get really close to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Soon as we get into a better area with a better network system, you'll see us kicking things off on time on a daily basis. Just keep an eye out for that. And for those of you that are coming to us from the shorts video, just know that we got a lot more shorts videos coming out, a lot more long form videos coming out. And as the YouTube changes and improves, their algorithm will be able to be seen a lot more. So you guys will be able to come out and grab a seat. Note that you guys can jump in whenever you feel like it over the age of 18 by clicking a link, approving the mic, approving the camera, and jumping into the green room, and I throw you in. You'll be able to give your shout outs to your friends and family the way what's his name, Brickle Mode decided to do a shout out to his buddy Dickerson. So just remember, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, then I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And for the rest of you guys, I really appreciate y'all coming to the podcast. Thank you for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I'll see you guys.